friends, and welcome back to Peace Now. Today, we're going to talk about truth, or the lack of truth, which is lies. So stay tuned. Well, if you've followed Peace Now, you know that we talk about four things: peace, people, our planet, and prosperity in the largest sense of the word. And today we're going to talk about truth being peace. And the counter to truth, the lies that we have been seeing in political discourse, certainly in the United States, but around the world, is extremely troubling. And I'd like to point out a few reasons why uh, the lies have total impact on our ability to experience peace in the world, but also to experience a quality of life that the lies are threatening. Most important, possibly, is the lies about the virus, COVID 19, which have been called the disease itself and the need to protect ourselves from it a hoax by leaders in the United States and around the world. Well, this has done a great injustice to people as there have been 100 million global cases of COVID 19 with over 2 million deaths worldwide. And of course, in the United States, we have one of the worst records and supposedly one of the best healthcare systems, but 27 million cases. Think about that, 27 million cases. And that's the discovered cases with over 440,000 deaths. Now, this didn't have to happen. And I, along with so many of you, have found that our friends have died. We know families who have had tragic loss. And it didn't have to be this way, but for political gain and for a power grab, leaders have called this a hoax and gathered thousands, hundreds of thousands of followers to believe in the lie. And quite frankly, lies kill. Well, hey, Goober. Goober goes, why so stupid, right? Yes, climate change. And these two cartoons sort of call out how climate change is one of the more bizarre issues. Everything has been divided in terms of people for a more conservative political view or people who believe in science. And you can hardly not believe in science when the water is moving up around your ankles in low-lying areas of our country. This is an enormous threat to humankind, and it threatens health. And we see that with in the lack of biodiversity and what it does in terms of diseases. The prosperity of people is wiped out when fires or tornadoes or more violent storms move through their communities. Obviously, peace is threatened on Earth when the populations become threatened. There's aggression, and powerful political leaders begin to turn people against one another. They begin to make issues out of the movements of people to take their families into a safer zone that climate change has impacted. People's property is destroyed, and you would think that common sense would say, let's make this our most important issue. But instead, we've had climate lies. And again, some of our leaders talking about climate as being a hoax. And our national security and local security is threatened when the climate is threatened itself, which in turn reduces our ability to have strong economic performance for all of the peoples of the world. And so climate change shouldn't be a political discussion. It should be a scientific discussion, and we should do everything we can to avoid the stupidity that Goober points out of the people who are pushing this climate issue as a hoax. We have other troubling incidents of people lying. And within the media itself, you have what's called catch and kill. And Ronan Farrow wrote about this in the Harvey Weinstein case of sexual abuse, where publications were paid to in research and to discover and investigate a story. And then they would kill the story so that the news would not be out. And this is something that people in the elite classes have access to doing and have done. And these lies that are perpetrated through um, a lack of journalistic integrity are hurting people, and call and demand for the truth to be the underlying fabric of everything that journalism stands for. And of course, we get to the military, right? We can't discuss peace and without discussing military aggression and the necessity for leaders like our former leader here in the United States to lie about getting into the military and then embrace the military to gain support from a certain group of people who feel that militarization is the means to a great end for our country. But in fact, there is no future in war. And we really have a difficult situation when military imposters like politicals come in and try to promote military to support their own political and financial gains. And this is something that a peace budget in a country would take care of, where the great majority of our taxpayer dollars don't go to militarization and aggressive activities, but to those things which give people a greater quality of life. And yes, Goober, I agree. Bone spurs should have been a clue at the very beginning of this. But if you look around, you can easily find those who are bullish and supporting with loud refrains the military are often those who have not served in the military at all, are seeing the consequences of war. And of course, we need truth when it comes to our country and its handling of immigrants and the people who have made America really a wonderful place of freedoms and liberties. But we've seen several decades where, for political gain, immigrants have been put away and charged with the worst crimes that can be imaginable by a political elite who finds it expedient to talk about these people in very, very negative terms and to whip up the masses with fear that immigrants are going to come into our country and do it harm, when the opposite has been true. And history will prove that the United States is a nation of immigrants that has had its entire economy supported by the great works and innovations of immigrant populations. Well, this is really what it comes down to. We've had a spate of comforting lies and several decades of comforting lies standing in front of unpleasant truths. And because of the lies, huge scores of people in our democracy have been moved to believing a hoax or things that are not true. And as Goober points out, this is really the problem we face. Truth is peace. And if we just look at truth as a way, even though it might be unpleasant, to move away from comforting lies, which create a false environment, false narratives, hurtful actions by people who believe the lies, if we move away from that, we can clearly see that truth is peace. I hope you'll join us for more episodes as we continue with Peace Now.